is Christina, and today I want to talk to you about Bremerhaven. It's a game from Lookout Games. It's 1 to 4 players, and it's one of the rare games that you can play solo and have a ton of fun playing. Let's take a look inside the box, and I'll show you just how it works. So I've set up the game for 4 players. The game's going to be taking course over 3 different boards. You've got your seaboard, your town board, and your land board. And what you're going to be doing during the course of the game, you're going to be trying to basically bid on ships to get goods to complete your contracts. So here's like a ship, for instance, that you could potentially bid and win, and you have to try, you will get this particular item that you would use to help you complete contracts, which there just so happens to be a contract that needs that particular good, which is an oil barrel. So what people's going to be doing during the game is going to start with the captain, which is the yellow player. They will take one of their 5 influence cards, it's 1 through 5, and they will be placing it on any one of these areas. Every contract area has a spot. You can see kind of this dotted area that represents where you can put your influence card. Same way for the town board, each one of these locations do different things. Same way for the seaboard as well. That also allows you the opportunity to come up here and to grab one of these ships if you win the bid, which is basically how all this works. So somebody would, like this yellow player, would take one of these cards, and if they really wanted to make sure that they win, they may want to do a 5, because it's going to go to the highest bidder. Whatever you put down, that's where it's going to go. So the highest bidder, you know, they may decide to go here. Then it'll move on to the green player, and they'll take a card, and maybe they don't want it as much, and they'll do a 1, and they can place it here. So it's going to be throughout the course. You have the different career ladders throughout the course of the game. The yellow person, green person, red person, and blue person are going to go in that order, laying down their influence cards. Then, once everybody has laid down their influence cards, you'll flip over, and you can lay on top of other people's areas. So the highest bidder would win. So this guy would win this ship, and this guy would win this ability that's on this town board. The way it works, the ship board, as I had mentioned, allows you the opportunity to get this ship, to put it on your board, and get the goods from it to complete these contracts. And you can also bid to try to defeat somebody in winning these contracts and try to get these goods off of this ships onto these contracts. But then you got the town board, which is altogether different. So with the town board, if somebody placed a card here, for instance, every influence card that's here will gain them 1 money. So they would gain one of these monies. If they had placed here and they had won, they get the opportunity to get this building, which they won't be able to build it just yet, but they do get this building, so they can put it in a stockpile. There is also the building action, which allows you, if you had bought this building on an earlier turn, it allows you the opportunity to place this on your board in an empty spot. Also, it allows you the chance to buy bollards, which I'll show you where those are on your player board, and it allows you to remove a cover off of your player board, which looks like this, and I'll also show you that on your player board. So that's some of the options that building will allow you to do. Building does work where it's not just the highest bidder. The highest bidder gets to use the building action. They pay for the building action, and then they finish their turn with that. Anybody who placed a bid, even if they were only placed a 1 and the person won by, let's say, 5, they do get to do the building action if they so desire, but they have to pay the difference between their bid and the highest bid. So in this case, they would have to pay 4. Then on top of that, they would have to pay for whatever they're doing as far as the building. With the cover card, they would have to pay for the cover card on top of that, the bollard on top of that, etc. So it's basically a cost for doing the action itself. And you also have this influence area, which everybody starts the game with 5 cards in their hand, and you'll actually be able to change your influence throughout the course of the game. So you might, you'll choose the 5. You'll have to choose the lowest number, and each time you'll grab one of these cards, and when this round is over, you'll take the lowest card that you have in your hand, and you'll remove it from your hand to where you no longer have the 1 as your lowest card, but the 2, and you got 2 5s. So you got a better chance of winning. And you can keep adding more influence cards, so long as you win this. This also works just like the building area. If you at least put one card there and you had gotten outbid, you can still choose to do the action. You just have to pay the difference between yours and the winner's. This area allows you the opportunity to sell the goods when it comes to that time at higher prices. And you can manipulate this. You can choose any of the cards below if you win this bid, and you can move around these cards and try to get maybe some of the things that you want sold at a higher price. And lastly, you have the career ladder, which you can change it to where maybe somebody goes first. Usually you choose for yourself to go first. And the captain, for instance, is the first player. He can gain 4 money, and it goes down 3 money, 2 money, and 1 money. And that happens even if you go here and you choose not to change the career ladder. This just happens in general. Even if nobody places a card here, this still just happens in general. This is just part of the town board. Once you get done with the bidding phase, one thing, if you had won this ship, you see on here it's got like a little timer and it's got a 2. You would place this in an area that also, you look at the berth, which is 1. So this has a bollard of 1 and a bollard of 1. So this is the only place that I could place this ship. And it has those time markers. I would take 2 of those time markers, which look like this, and I would place them on this card, which represents that I've got 2 rounds with this ship being in my shipyard. And that includes the round that I just bought it in as well. And also, I had mentioned before, if you had won a building and you say that you got a chance to do the building phase, which this is the building that I showed as winning, you could place that in any empty space on the board. I had also talked about with building, you can remove one of these covers, which these are covers. These are 1 gold or 1 money, 2 money. So if I paid 1 money, I can remove this. Also, I talked about with the berth size, this has to have, the bollard has to meet the berth size. So right now, this is the only place that has 1 bollard on both sea walls, so then I can place this ship here. I can also buy more bollards throughout the course of the game, and I can like pay 1 money for here. It has numbers written on here, so now I can place a ship here, and then I can keep buying more and more bollards so that I can keep putting bigger and bigger berth ships onto my shipyard. And so what you're going to do when you get to this phase, as soon as you get the ship, you'll make sure that you'll place the item that that ship is going to give you. And the first thing that you'll do is, if you have a building that produces something, you would produce it now. It's a May, and I don't have anything, so I wouldn't be doing that. But the next step is I can move things off of my ship onto one of these spaces. Each one of these spaces can only hold 1 good, except for brown crates. There can be 2 brown crates in the spot. And you also can take 2 brown crates. You can make them a green crate, but that's going to cost 1. And this is what the crates look like. So, say for instance, I had these 2 here, and I wanted to have a green crate. I would pay 1 money and turn this into 1 green crate. I can also, opposite is true, pay 1 money to unpack it and put it back to 2 brown crates. So that is an option if I had had that in my area. And then the next thing that I can do is I can also move goods onto the ship. So I can move this good up here, and I can move this good up here. Now, even though I've just completed that contract, I'm not done, because I still have to have that contract out for so many rounds. So what we'll do now is we'll look at the prestige. And the way you figure out prestige, this ship, for instance, it has 4 prestige written on it. Right there is the stars. That is prestige. So I have, right now, in my area, I have 4 prestige. So I will just move my little marker up to the 4 prestige marker. And of course, you know, ships are going to come and go. So there may be times that I have less than 4 prestige, but I won't go back down. There is times that I may have more prestige. Say later on I picked up a ship that was 2 prestige. So then I have 6 prestige in my dock. And if I'm still at 4, then I will move up to 6. Won't move back down, but I will just move up to what was the most prestige I've ever had in my dock. And then at the end of this, I will take each one of these timer markers off of the ships and off of the contracts and put them back. when I remove the last one, if I remove the last one off this ship, the ship goes away. If I remove it, the last one, off of the contract, then I score the contract. This is where you would take a look at the top price card. So for instance, there's oil. I would gain 3 for the oil. I have the brown crate, so there's 2, so I'm at 5. This card also has, up here at the top, this green circle, which gives me an additional 2. So I would wind up with 7 for this contract. This contract would just be discarded, and I would gain 7. And you definitely want to gain money in this game, because the formula to decide who is the winner, it is prestige times money. Whoever has the most, they win the game. So the way that you determine the way rounds go, we'll take a look at the newspaper stand, which right here it shows a 1. So that means that this boat is going to move to 1 spot. When it reaches the very end with this anchor spot, then the game is over, and that's when you count up your points. After you've done that, you'll flip this card, you'll go ahead and you'll read the text, but this will not affect this round that you just finished. It will affect your next round. Another thing to note about this, the newspaper stand and the newspaper deck actually also works as a solo variant if you decided to play this game by yourself. Right here in the bottom, it shows a 1-1. Each one of these boards are numbered. For instance, this town board is numbered 1-1. So what somebody would do if they're playing the solo variant, they would take the influence cards, they would shuffle them up for the AI, and they would place it on the 1-1 spot. So we don't know what they bid. It basically gives you a competitor to bid against all these different items. And that's how you would determine where they would go. So each board is numbered. This is 1-1. The shipboard is numbered 2. And then you have, of course, the contract board, which is number 3. So that's Bremerhaven. Now, I will admit, the first time that I saw Bremerhaven, I couldn't help but notice an uncanny resemblance to Le Havre, which is another game that I had the good fortune to try and really enjoy, and I've played it many times. Even have the iOS version for my phone and iPad. And so I enjoy Le Havre, and I looked at these two, and they have a lot of similarities just looking at the box. So I was concerned because Le Havre had come out first, Bremerhaven came out second. I was concerned that Bremerhaven was a knockoff of Le Havre. And then I did some research, and I found that they are the same artist and the same company. They both have nautical themes. That's where the similarity ends. Le Havre is a totally different game than Bremerhaven. So if you played Le Havre and you're interested in Bremerhaven, don't worry. This is a different game. It's not a knockoff at all. It's a very unique game. It's a game that instead of, but with Le Havre, you're sitting there and you're just trying to collect goods. And even for those who haven't played Le Havre, both are good. It's just really what you're in the mood for. As far as Bremerhaven, I love the bidding mechanic, the fact that you would use influence cards, and then that you would try to use those influence cards to gain better influence cards to get more of the things that you want. I like the fact that everything makes sense thematically, that you're bidding on these ships to come be in your dock, and you're taking the goods off of them, and you're putting them on the trucks, the trains, the cars, what have you, and you're getting those out within a timely manner. It's just thematically, it makes a lot of sense. So I find that whenever you're teaching somebody how to play the game, they can understand it really easily because thematically it makes sense. So if it makes sense thematically, then it makes sense as far as explaining it, as far as playing it. The rule book is really great. There's a lot of great examples in the rule book. It's laid out very well. It gives you all the things that you need to know. The mechanics in the game is right spot on. I couldn't find any flaw with the mechanics. Everything seemed very fun. It also seemed like, you know, you had the bit of the luck with the cards, but it was very much heavily relying on your strategy. I also think that the components in the game, the newspaper stand, which is made out of wood, gamers love things that they can touch that have a really good feel to it. And so having a wooden newspaper stand that you can use that helps move the game along, that was just a really neat component that I absolutely fell in love with. It's just a little wooden block pretty much that has a separation in the center. Loved it. I love the fact that everything was designed to look like it belonged in this nautical world. You had the ships, you had the Bullards, you had a lot of wonderful things working for this game. So this is a really great game. It's definitely one that I'm glad I had the opportunity to play. I'm glad that I got over my initial qualms about, oh no, is this a Le Havre knockoff? It's not. Not at all. Totally different game. And it's equally as fun. They're different. They're very different, and you can have both of them on your shelf. And if you've played Le Havre and you didn't really care for it, you should try Bremerhaven. It's different than Le Havre. Or if you liked Le Havre, still try Bremerhaven. I think both of them are great. I like having them both on the shelf. I like to have them both on the shelf side by side because with them being the same artist, they just look neat on the shelf side by side. So definitely check out Bremerhaven if you get the chance. And that's all I have today. May the dice roll in your favor. Jazz hands!